Hi, thank you so much for your purchase of GNR Hyperlytes. Let's install them. When you've unpacked your box, you'll find that you have the GNR Hyperlytes control box, and on the upper part of the harness there, you're going to see that you have a Velcro cable tie. Go ahead and take that off right now, you'll use it later. And you've got your power supply and the cable, and also you have the 4 light rails. For installation, I think you should have a tape measure, maybe a pencil, your 1/4-inch nut driver, and some painter's tape. That's all you're going to need. First things first, let's go ahead and unplug your machine. You see I've got mine plugged into a smart plug. I'll say more about that later. Alright, we are going to have to open up the machine. Go ahead and open that coin door, and throw the latch, and pull out that lockdown bar. Go ahead and close the coin door before you pull out the glass. Have a safe place to put your glass. Not on anything hard, not anywhere somebody's going to kick it. The cat on top of the machine is optional. I use him, but he's honestly not much help. Once you've got that glass out and safely stored, you're going to want to go ahead and pull out the machine and get it away from the wall because you're going to need to install the light rails back there. Then it's time to lift up the playfield and go ahead and pull it out to its 3rd final service position. Let it rest. At the very back of the cabinet, there are 2 grills, one on the far left side and one on the far right side. This is the right side one. You see it's got 4 1/4-inch screws in there. That's what the nut driver's for. For me, I only wanted to remove a couple of them because that gives you plenty of access to slide the wires in and out. You will bend that grill a little bit if you only do that. So if you want to be a purist about it and make sure your grill stays perfectly flat, you want to remove all 4. And a couple of them are underneath this box that hides the input of the power from the game. Here you can see I've got enough play to pull it up a little bit and let the wires through. And it's the same story on the left side of the cabinet. 4 1/4-inch nuts. I just took out 2. You can take out all 4 if you want to keep it clean. But for me, just those 2 left me plenty of space to put the wires through. Okay, get the control box and orient it like this. So the 4 bricks are facing the back of the machine, and the 2 green bricks that hold the wiring harnesses are going to face the front, facing the woofer. Place it carefully down in there. Be careful not to snag the wires on anything. Put it about right here, a little closer to the back of the machine than to the woofer. Those 4 green bricks at the back, facing the back of the machine, are the light rail connectors. So you'll take the 2 that are on the right side and push them off to the right a little bit. The 2 that are on the left side, push them off to the left a little bit. Now everything coming out of the front is wiring harnesses that will plug into the game. Go ahead and push those up there, maybe beside the woofer, so you can have a place to find them later. Now you go find your light rails and take a look at the back at the top. They're labeled. You see BL means bottom left, BR is bottom right, TL is top left, and TR is top right. Go ahead and grab your bottom left and bottom right. We'll do those first. Quick note, there are 2 pieces of very high bond 3M double-sided tape on each one of the light rails. They are red. Don't pull off the backing until you've got your positioning exactly where you want them because they stick. Okay, under the game, go ahead and grab your pencil, your measuring tape, or I like to use, instead of a pencil, painter's tape because it's so easy to get off. Measure about 3 inches over from the side of the game, mark it, then go from the back of the game and measure about 6.5 inches down and mark that as well. And then down by the speaker grill, go in 3 inches there and mark it. With those 3 measurements marked, you can hold up your light rail and make sure you like the positioning. If you do, you can go ahead and take off the backing of your 3M tape and place the light rail. 3M recommends holding it in place for 10 seconds with firm pressure. I recommend you do as they say for maximum adhesion. Using the same measurements on the other side, 3 inches in from the side and 6.5 inches from the back, you can place your left bottom rail. As you can see, 3 inches in from the side puts the light rail on the opposite side of the power switch, so you're not fumbling across the light. Now that the rails are securely mounted, you can go ahead and feed those wires through those grills. I just have to lift up a little bit with my finger and then feed them on through. Do that for both sides. Look how fast I can do it. But you take your time. Now for the back box. Go ahead and measure in about 4.5 inches if you want to use my measurements. Mark that. And down from the top, you want to go about 4 inches. Those two marked, you can go down to the bottom part of the cabinet and mark in about 1.5 inches. You might want to fudge it in left or right a little, just to keep it parallel. It's your choice. Once you've decided where you like it and you've held it up, go ahead and remove the backing and stick the light rail down. Again, holding pressure for about 10 seconds. Use the same measurements on the other side and adhere the left light rail. There will be some wires hanging down. You can stick those to the side of the channels or just leave them hanging like I do. Now that the top rails are installed, go ahead and take those wires coming from there and feed them through the bottom of the cabinet just like you did with the bottom rails. Back inside the cabinet, go ahead and take those 4 wire connectors from the light rails and feed them through however you like to keep them clean, and plug them in to the 2 lefts and the 2 right light rail connectors coming out of the control box. As long as you've got the left and right correct, it doesn't really matter which one goes into which. They both control the light strips in exactly the same way. Don't try to force these connectors, by the way. They only go together in one orientation, so if it's not working, try to flip it over. If you take a look, there's a clip on the top and a nub on the top of the other one. If you just kind of line those up and push them in, they should just clip together very easily. If it's not going, then take a minute, take a good look, and make sure you're doing it the right way. Now go ahead and grab that power supply. You can plug in the long wire and route that long wire back up to the front of the machine where the service box port is. Go ahead and place that brick right about where I've done it here on the right side of the machine under the rail. Then you take the round plug and plug it into the round plug on the front of the control box. And finally, it's time to raise the playfield. Go ahead and get yourself a nice soft cloth and put it across your back box so that you can lift up the playfield and rest it there safely. I always make sure, see me taking a look there at the little flap that keeps the balls from flying out, because mine failed once. That was not fun. Didn't break anything though, that was very lucky. So once you've got that thing securely in position, you'll remember the plug that you left on the right side of the woofer. Go ahead and plug that in. Your game's still unplugged, so that will not be getting power. Just take a moment and route that wire to the right side of your game. There's pre-installed little white clips. You can put them behind. On the left side of the cabinet, you'll find the harnesses that you left there earlier. There's a left and a right side. They should be marked. Obviously, the left has 3 little 2-inch wires that join the 2 connectors. I froze the video so that you can see this is the board we're going to be plugging our connectors into. It's got those Ethernet cables all around there, those blue Ethernet cables. This is at the bottom left of your playfield when it's raised up. So when you've located that, you see that these are the 2 connectors that actually we're going to plug into. The left goes on the left side. They only go in one way. Just unplug the one that's existing in the board into the square of the Hyperlytes harness, and then take the other side of the harness and plug it into the board. While you're here, go ahead and grab that Velcro tie that was around the wiring harness when you first got it, and take this harness and Velcro tie it to the very bottom of the loopy wiring harness that they have in the game. Make sure there's no pressure on any of the wires from the board all the way back, and you'll be in good shape. It is time to safely put your game back together. Go ahead and slowly lower the playfield and slide it back into place. You'll notice that my cat helper is nowhere to be found. It's very unreliable. I don't recommend them. Carefully grab the glass and slide it back into position. Open the coin door and throw the latch, and slide back down your lockdown bar. Lock it back into place. Close your coin door, then you can slide your game back to where it was, and you can then plug it back in. Now, about this smart plug. Because your game's service box is always on when the game's plugged in, even if you've got the game off, I use a smart plug because that cuts off power to the entire game, including the service box, so your Hyperlytes are not trying to stay on. You can either open up the coin door and unplug them every time you're turning off your game, or get something like this, where it cuts the power to the entire machine. If you get a smart plug, look what you can do. Alexa, turn on Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
There we go. I hope you love them. And thank you so much.